for the second weekend in a row, we are talking about big changes at the highest levels of New Hampshire politics. We'll get to the Speaker's announcement later in the show, but right now we're going to sort out what could be a very crowded primary for Carol Shea Porter's seat in Congress. Joining us to discuss this morning, Jim Demers of Demers, Blaisdell and Praysol. Thanks for being here, Jim.
Good to be here.
Representative Deborah Altschiller of Stratham, a Democrat. Thanks for being here, Deborah.
Good morning.
And Kurt Ehrenberg, who was the political director for Bernie Sanders' New Hampshire campaign in 2016. We appreciate you being here, Kurt.
Hi.
So this is obviously potentially a very busy field, and I think, Democrats want to honor the legacy of Carol Shea Porter as a trailblazer for women and for Democrats. But it's safe to say, Representative, that there's a lot of excitement here to see who might be able to emerge in CD1.
Oh, it is as if a bubble is bursting of energy in Congressional District 1. And there are a lot of us who you could have blown me over with a feather when I heard that announcement. And I can say with a surety that there are some people who are going to be running who are also shocked and awed at that announcement. So that may put some people at a little bit of a disadvantage who hadn't put this seat in their long game and might not have been preparing financially to make this run, because it seems like a long way away, but when you're putting together an infrastructure and a campaign, it's really not. Yeah.
And probably the name at the top of this list right now that we're looking at is Executive Counselor Chris Pappas. If you had to have a draft, if you will, of young Democratic talent in the state, he would probably be the consensus #1 pick. But Jim, should we believe the hype about Chris Pappas?
Well, look, the latest list we've been talking about before we started is 10 people potentially looking at this. By the time this show airs, it'll probably be 15 people. But yeah, I think that this is a time when voters are actually looking for new young faces. They're looking for the next generation. They're looking to see, if the parties have built their bench. And the U.S. House races tend to be the kind of races where you can run a new face. So I think, Chris Pappas brings a track record of having run for the Executive Council. He's been a state legislator. He's a business person. He has the ability to raise funds. He has everything that it takes to have a winning campaign. So I think the hype is real about Chris Pappas.
And Kurt, we know that that the Bernie Sanders had that huge victory in 2016, and there's been a lot of talk with his steering committee about translating that into winning some elections here in New Hampshire. This might be the first big test to rev that engine. We already know Mark McKenzie from the steering committee is running. Do you think we're going to see the Bernie crowd try to get behind one candidate in this race?
Well, and I'm not speaking for the Bernie campaign or committee right now, but I think that it's pretty clear that this is a great opportunity for all of us who live in the 1st Congressional District here to work hard to make sure that this is a campaign of ideas, that this is a campaign that represents what the future of the Democratic Party is going to be rather than the past of the Democratic Party. I think we saw a glimpse of that in the presidential primary in 2016. And that I think the Bernie Sanders voters are going to have a major say in who our next congressional nominee is in the Democratic Party for the 1st Congressional District. But I also think that it's really important that we make sure that whoever comes out of this primary as the winner wins the general election and we capture that seat for the next Congress.
Mm-hmm. And one of the more sort of mysterious figures to emerge from this is Maura Sullivan, who recently moved to the Seacoast. She's an Iraq War veteran, served in the Obama administration, but again is relatively new here. Has anyone actually met her around this table at all?
Actually, no, and she is a little bit of a mystery on the Seacoast. She has a great resume. I'm thrilled to hear that she's moved into the district, and hope that she gets involved in some way to bring some ideas forward. But we have a district that put the first female congressional representative from New Hampshire, sent them to Washington, and as a progressive. And so, and we have right in Rye, we have Representative Mindy Mesmer, who another, New Hampshire elected representative, progressive values, to step right behind Carol and follow her, so that I can see that becoming a very competitive place in this particular district.
And that's an interesting point, because you look at 2006, that wave that carried Congresswoman Shea Porter into office. We could be seeing another wave forming right now, and could we see another Carol Shea Porter type make it coming out of nowhere?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Kurt makes a good point, and that is that this is going to, first of all, this is going to be a contested primary. I don't think we're going to see 10 candidates. We could see 5 or 6 candidates. And I think that really is healthy for all of the party, because it ensures that the Democrats are going to have a good, aggressive discussion going into the general election of the issues we care about. And there's some big issues. I mean, just this week with the president taking steps to dismantle health care, you know, we're talking about 50,000 New Hampshire residents who could lose their health care because of this. We're going to need a member of Congress who has the vision to talk about how we're going to address issues like that. So I do think that this is going to be a great campaign. There'll be others that'll get in, and you know, New Hampshire has proven in the past that just because you're the front runner doesn't mean you end up winning it. The voters really do take their role very seriously. You know, we are the earliest presidential primary in the country, but we're the latest state election primaries. And I think what the candidates really need to think about, though, is do they have the resources and the ability to go beyond a primary and win in the general? And when you have a mid-September primary, you have to be the kind of candidate who has a record of being able to keep it going, to have the funds to win in November, and there aren't that many that can do that. I, 31 years ago, ran,
a candidate yourself,
and I can tell you that I was a victim of that. I won the nomination, but then I spent the next month afterwards basically off the campaign trail trying to replenish the money, and by the time I did, all the Washington outsiders were saying, it's too late, we've already committed our money to the other states. So you really do need a candidate that's got that broad campaign experience to be able to keep it going into the general.
And certainly the political landscape in CD1 has shifted in those 30 years. But Kurt, what's the blueprint for winning there? Do you try and turn out the urban areas, ignore Carroll County? But how does a Democrat win in CD1?
Well, I think every voter counts, and I think it's very important to make sure that it's a grassroots campaign that involves volunteers and people. You know, I think Mark McKenzie is someone who has a track record of working with working class people and families in this district for years and years. As president of the AFL-CIO and as a state representative from Manchester, he has been doing that. So I think he has the ability to talk to people door to door and at their, you know, where they live and where they work. And I think Jim makes a really good point that health care, I think, will be the centerpiece of this campaign. The Republican proposals basically take health care away from people. You know, Bernie Sanders has a proposal now that McKenzie supports, which is Medicare for all. And starting by figuring out how you know, lower the eligibility age for Medicare to allow more people into that system. But eventually we need to provide health care for all Americans.
Well, it certainly will be an interesting race to watch. Kurt Ehrenberg, Representative Deborah Altshuler, and Jim Demers, thank you for your perspectives today. We appreciate it.
Thanks.